Good morning. We're starting today in Chulin. We'll learn today Chulin Daf Lamed Ches, starting in Daf Lamed Zayin and with base towards the bottom. It says the Gemara, Shkechinu Shmuel leTalmidei de Rav. Shmuel meets the Talmidei of Rav. Omer Lahu, my Omar Rav b'Mesukenes. What did Rav say in Mesukenes? Remember, this Mishnah that we're dealing with right now speaks about a Mesukenes, an animal which is sick, in danger. If it will die eventually. It's not a treifa. As the Gemara said, treifa is only chaseira. There's a piece missing for the animal. This is not chaseira. It's treifa. It's not treifa, I'm saying. It's mesukenes. It's just sick. But it's not going to live. And we learned in the Mishnah that as long as there's some sign of life to it, so then it's fine. So, what did Rav say? What is the sign? So, on top. Goyo vitila rei. If Gemara brings you a list of simonim that show this animal is alive. So goya means it made a noise. Each animal, which noise it made? Itila rei, it basically put out rei, and then kishkesha be'ozno, or moved their ear. So any one of these signs shows the animal is alive. As Rashi says, oize, oize. Goya tzueket, goya means to scream. So making a noise, putting out feces and moving the ear. So I raise it because that's part of the pirkus, which is the literal translation, is the meaning of jerking that the animal does before it dies. And it shows the animal is alive. In other words, does the Shmuel is referring to Rav. We'll see something about that in a moment. But he says, does Abba, referring to Rav, needs to tell me the chiddush of moving the ear? Why? Rashi says the chiyuz gadol who's it's a lot to say to move the ear. Do you need to get to that? Shani oimer kol she'einu dvarim shamiso oiso. I say you don't have to make a big movement. Any movement that it's not a natural movement of death is considered to be something which shows the animal's alive. What we're trying to figure out, as we'll see in a moment in the Gemara, the main point is to tell you, I want to know the animal did not die before the shechita. So if it does any movement as the shechita is happening, it shows me the animal is still alive during shechita. So all I need to do is any movement which is not a movement which is a reaction of death is going to be good. So I don't have to move the ear. Any movement. So in other words, if it's things that the death causes, that's not an indication. So I heard from Shmuel the following. If the hand, front leg, is bent, and he stretches it out, that's a normal reaction of death. That their front leg of the animal is bent and it stretches out. Pshuto v'kovo, but the opposite reaction, the opposite movement, if the front leg is bent and it's stretched and he goes and bends it, the animal bends it, that's not a reaction of death, that shows indication of life. Says the Gemara, what's the chiddush? That's really a Mishnah. If she stretched the hand and not bring it back, psula, meaning because stretching the hand is not an indication of life. Sheino le'tzoz nefesh, that's just taking out of her life. Hayich I should bring it back, it's kosher. That's a rayo, that's we have to tell me that. So we missed this. If I would see the Mishnah, I would say, you need to have a bend leg, stretch it out and bend it back. That's indication that the animal actually moved. Low. But if it's already stretched out and then you bend it in, loy, kashmalan. So from the Mishnah itself, I think maybe you need to have both movements. To stretch and bend. Says here Shmuel, no. Bending on its own, it's already an indication. Says that's kashmalan. If she's screaming doing shchita, that's not an indication of life. Even taking an excrement, moving the tail, ain't a pikush. So these are not indications. Kasha goya goya, we just said that screaming is an indication. Kasha reya rey, and putting excrement is also a stira. And to the Gemara, goya goya lo kasho had the ovi kole had the omikila. The making a noise is not indicate not question how loud the voice is. If it's a strong voice, avi koile means a thick voice that shows life. Avi kele, if it's a soft voice, that's just a scream of death. Rei rei namilo kashu, which takes an excrement, kan b'shiseses, kan b'matrezes. Meaning, shiseses means that it's just flowing down on the floor. Matrezes is it's splashing to far away. If it's splashing far away, that shows a sign of life. Right? So it depends how strong is you doing it. So we may, what the Gemara is telling us, we have different signs, and all these signs depend. Basically, Shmuel gives us the rule: anything which is a called relief of death, animals dying and doing some movement. There's no indication here that this movement shows that the animal is alive. If it's more than what the death will cause, then it's a good indication. Now, so interesting over here. It says Shmuel. I mean, this is something that happens in Shas a lot, but it says over here that Shmuel calls Rav Abu. So Rashi says, and if you look at the second line in the Hamud, La'abo l'Rav avakor l'Shmuel hachi mishum kovet, meaning that it wasn't his name, but Abba was a derech kovet. So the Tosfos brings the Aruch that says no, the opposite, that his name is Abu, and Rav was derech kovet. So what is his real name? Is his real name Rav and he's calling him Abba, or his real name is Abba and he's calling him Rav? So Rashi says that Abba is Lashon Kovet, the Rav is Lashon Kovet. Interesting thing that comes, the Tosfos brings over here. Says the Gemara, right. He brings riots throughout Tosfos because it says they called him Abu, and even people that need to respect him. So Shmuel, Bishma, Shmuel, and Rav are the same level. You know, they were friends. So Shmuel could call him his first name, but others can't. That's raya that maybe Abu is Lashon Chashivas. Okay. This indication that you have to have this jerking has to be b'soif shchita. End of shchita. My b'soif shchita. So the more be'emtza shchita, meaning not coming to tell him mamash b'soif shchita. The one that says right now, it means in the middle of the shchita. In order to, I'm going to exclude the beginning of the shchita. The beginning of the shchita, you don't have it. How do we know that? Nan behemo dako sheposhto yodo. You have a behemodako who stretched out his hand but did not put it back. Psula. So you say that's not an indication of life. Ema, so what stage did they do it? Meaning after shchita they did it. So you want to, how long do you want the animal to still be alive? So the Gemara understands misvaro. Once shchita is done, it's done. How the animal is dead. So when exactly you need that movement? We talk about the middle of shchita. So when this movement happens in the middle of the process, it needs to be the end of the shchita. Shani oimer kol shein noise ken b'soif shchita ve'yodua shenishmaso netulo himeno koydem lachem. Meaning, if it's not done at the end of shchita, so that means it died before. So yes, similar to, you know, we have when you kill you go do kaparas, we see it. You kill a bird after that bird is shecht, it's still moving. So yes, there's some movement that happens after shechita is done, and that shows the animal is alive till then. Says the Gemara, it's going to be in the beginning of the shechita. How do I know that? And then we saw in the Mishnah. Shertz in the night, and then in the morning finds the walls filled with blood. Sheiro, shezinko, Why? Because I know that means the blood switched. That's what Blazer said, that the spritch of the blood is the indication that there was a movement over here. We're talking about the walls, not of the wall of the room, but the walls of the Beis HaShchita, meaning the neck. Right? Why? Why talk about the koisim? So Rashi goes explains because if it's in the wall, maybe let's see a little bit of Rashi over here. Not the walls of the room. And the koisim Beis HaShchita. If you have a koisim mamish, talk about the walls of the room. So we should be able to indicate on our own if the shchita, when did it happen? If the shchita was in the beginning, so you'll see the blood spritching on the top, right above the animal. Because the power in the behemoth is through the blood strongly. Because if it's in the towards the floor, so the fact we're going to see now that the blood is coming out of the animal, I'm not sure when it came out. If it's the walls of the room, says Rashi, so I do know when it came out because you see where it spritzed to. But now we're saying the walls, not the walls of the room, it's the walls of the neck. That's what he's saying. I don't know when it is. Gemara says like this. That's what we're talking about, the neck. So the neck, I can't indicate when exactly it happened. So I now understand, if you find blood in the neck, that means there was some spritz of blood. Says the Gemara, again, if the sign of life needs to happen in the beginning of the shechita, in the middle end of the shechita, so how do I know the next morning if it happened in the beginning of that? But if you tell me I don't care when it happens, it's good enough, so then I really don't know, it's good enough. So maybe no. Maybe zinuk, when you have the spritz of the blood, that is a stronger pull. It's a stronger indication. Is that really better? Brozo said, Dayo im zinko, meaning, what is the one trying to say right now? Maybe zinko is a proof that could work even beginning of shechita. But the movement of the leg, for example, they have to do the end of shechita. So the stronger the indication, the more variety that the animal is alive. So when we look at the Mishnah, Rabbi said, Dayo im zinko. It's enough if the blood came out. Actually, that's less of an indication. So the first one, I'm going to say, have to move the leg. Comes from blood and says, no, you don't have to move the leg. It was only blood is good enough. So you see the spritz of the blood is less of an indication than moving the leg. And you're saying it's more because it could be even beginning of shita. Says the Gemara, if you look at the Mishnah again, Rabbanan said that you can just move the leg one way that's good enough. Comes the front leg. Comes Rabbi Lazar and says, no, you need to move both. I mean, sorry. Shigam says you have to move both. Biyad uveregel. Chacham said shivakes oy biyad oy beregel. So according to Gamliel, you have to do both. According to Rabban, you can do one. So he's saying this when he says dayo shezinko, meaning I don't need like Gamliel to move both a hand and a leg, the front leg and the back leg. It's enough to have the blood, but it's more than Rabban that said only one leg. So we're talking about in the beginning of the Almud is moving one leg. Now we're saying that the blood is greater. What we're talking about now is moving both legs. So when he says zinka is good enough, it means you don't need to move both. Moving, it's enough to have blood. But if you have blood, you're better than moving one leg. So it's interesting lashon over here. Ravina says the Salam Bachiloi told us that there was a question that was asked by who? The father of Bar Avuvover. So it was either the father or the brother of this person, which we don't know who it is. So Avur the bar Avuram means he's the father of the son of Avuram. As Rashi says, that's Avavuram himself. The father of the son of Avuram is Avavuram himself. So either it's the father of the son of Avuram, which is of Avuram, or it's talking about they knew Rashi is saying they knew who the son is, but they did not know who the father. They didn't know the father, so they called him the father of Bar Avuram, who knew his son. So the son was called the son of Avuram. So they said the father of son of Avuram, his name was son of Avuram, even though they didn't know who he was. They didn't know the father. So either the father of the son of Avuram or the brother of the son of Avuram said the following: if you want to tell me that the blood that comes out is greater than the indication of moving one leg, I'm going to say it needs to be until he moves one hand and one leg. What are they talking about? We'll say have to move both. Why do I have to say moving only one? So it's not ad. Ad means not until you get to, you want to say less. They're blazer. So meaning Elamar blazer says blood is good enough. They're saying no, ad, you have to move the leg. Fiadiv my ad. So Elapshir blazer. Fiadiv my ad. In other words, if a blazer is greater, where it's at. So here in the you have a rayo from the lush of the Mishnah that the blood is less than moving the leg. So the Gemara is going back to the question. The Gemara said, you need to do, according to this mandama, you have to have the siman in the middle of Shechita. Says the Gemara, it can be beginning of Shechita. How do you know beginning of Shechita? Because it says that the blood is, you see it in the neck. How do you know if you see the blood in the neck if it's the beginning of Shechita and then Shechita the next morning? Says the Gemara, no, maybe when the blood comes out in the neck, it's such a strong indication. I don't have to be in the beginning of Shechita. So the Gemara is the meduyik from the Mishnah that the blood coming out is less of an indication than the leg or one leg and one hand. If it's less of an indication, so you mainly now what I'm saying, you're saying the blood is less, and still you're telling me that it's good enough indication. If it's less and you need to do by the leg, you have to know it's a certain part of Shechita. How do you know about the blood when it is? Even beginning of Shechita is a good raya. Says the Gemara, Rava Amar Pirko Shomu b'Soif Shechita. Rava holds has to be in the end of Shechita. Omar Rava, Rashi says Soif Mamish. Shetefarkes b'Gemar Shechita. Tetave b'Chius Achar Shechita. Once Shechita ends, there will still be life there. Omar Rabbi Noah, I mean, a lot of know that. Tanya, it says in the Brayso. Shor and Daf Lamchesim base. Shor or Keves or Kesev. We dash in the pasuk. So coming to tell you for the Gabi Korbanis, Shor Kesef Prat Kilaim. Coming to exclude an animal that was born from a mixed breed. Oy Eiz Prat Nidme. Means it was born, it's a regular animal, it has a regular father and mother, but it looks different. It looks like another animal. Ki Volet, what's Ki Volet going to tell you? Prat Yoitzedoifen. Yoitzedoifen means that there was a cesarean. And as Rashi points out right away, which is important for the Hemshech, they took they took this animal out of the womb of the mother, and the mother either died by that or not. Shivas Yomim says that to be 7 days under his mother. Prata Mechus Zman, coming to exclude if it's too early, can't be a korban. Takas Imoy, Pratli Yosem. It has to be under the mother, and it cannot be an orphan. What does it mean, an orphan? So that's what the was going to focus on. What does it mean you can't have an animal, an orphan, to be a korban? Maybe the mother gave birth and then the mother died. Do you want the mother to live forever? Every animal, the mother dies eventually. So how long does the mother have to live? She died, and then there was birth. That's Yoitzedoifen. Yoitzedoifen, we said that if you have cesarean, cesarean means you open the womb of the mother. So if you open the womb of the mother, it's either the mother died by that or mother did not die by that. But the point is, if the mother died first, there wasn't a birth. You had to have a surgery to take out the animal from the womb. Must be that an orphan means it didn't die. The mother did not die before, it had that after. It died during. Meaning, as the baby is born, is being born regular birth, the mother dies. If you tell me it needs to be some life there in the end of birth, so Torah says if the mother died, you can't have this baby cow as a korban. If I don't have to have life after in the end, you learn from mechi volid. Meaning, if you're telling me that it needs to be alive until the end, right? So until the end of, so what is going to bring a raya from here? Going leido. What exactly, how long you need the mother to be alive in order for this baby to be considered to be a good korban? The mother has to be alive before she was pregnant with the baby. So of course it has to be alive before. It doesn't have to be alive after the birth, because how long do you want it to be alive? So it has to be alive until the end of birth. Because if it's not till the end of birth, it's again a cesarean. So you see that whenever I tell you a certain time, it means until the end of it. So similarly by shechita, we're saying the when we say there needs to be some indication of life during shechita, it means the end of shechita. Same with leida is the end of leida. So shechita means the end of shechita. That's the value. Says the Gemara, Omarov, Hichaso ki amastiso. We learn from there that we're going to say halacha like the brayso. Peimodako sheposhto yodo v'lo yichziro. It stretched the leg, the hand, which is the front leg, and then I bring it back. Psula. That's only the front leg. How about the regular back leg? Being pushed over the cover, there's a stretch and did not bend. Being covered or it bend and did not stretch. Kshero. So we said in the beginning that stretching is not good enough. It's only the front leg. The back leg, stretching is good enough. That's only in a called domestic animal, or there's small animals. A big animal, being beyond, being regular doesn't matter if it's the front leg, the back leg, being pashto, like cover doesn't matter if it's stretched, it didn't bend, being cover, like pashto, it bend, didn't stretch, shave. It's all indication of life. The oif and a bird, afilu lo rifrif elagapoy. It didn't only moved a little bit its wing. For the kishkish elas navoy, or he moved a little bit its tail, a razor purpose. My kamash, what's the chiddush? Kulu tanoni. It's all really coming out from the Mishnah. Is this says the Mishnah? Because it says be'emadaku sheposhto yodav leichzir psulo shein elotzos nefesh. So it says already if you just stretch the front end, it's not good enough. Says the more yadin regular. You have to tell you yes. So and you learn from the Mishnah yadin regular. It says well yad dakoin gosolo. It says a swine on a big animal. So ayavol is really all I'm doing for the Mishnah. What's the chiddush of Rava? Says the Gemara. What's the chiddush of Rava? Sorry. Now, we never did mention a bird. So the addition of Rava is to tell me about the bird. Tell me, look at this brayso and learn from here the halachos of the bird. Okay. So the Mishnah shoichet lovet kechovim shchitas ksher. Someone checks the animal for a goy. The shchita is ksher. For Abel Lazar, Poisel. Lazar says it's possible. Why? As we will see in a moment. Even though he's shechting in the guy is not doing, he doesn't care so much about the shechita. He's going to get only one piece of the animal. He's only going to get the liver of the animal. It's still a problem. Why? A guy, his mindset is that the animal will be for the zor. Even though the deal is, I'm going to cut it and give you a small piece to eat. He still has in mindset that he wants the person when he's shechting to have in mind to do it for the zor. Says the B'yasi, where do we find the machshav as a psul and mukdashim? The person has a bad mindset, it ruins the korban. It goes based on the oived. What does the oived mean? Only the kohen doing the avodah. Makoim, in the case that and at the place where the machshava is not poisel and chulin, meaning by chulin, if you have a bad thought, so what is the Rebbe saying? Really saying the guy, the owner of the animal, can ruin the behemoth because I don't go based on the owner, I go based on the person doing the shechita. So if the one who's doing the shechita is a Jew, even though the owner is a guy, it does not do any problem for the behemoth. So that's the machlekes in the Mishnah. Rabbi Lazar says that the guy's machshava ruins the animal, and Rabbi says no, doesn't ruin the animal because he's not doing the shechita. So now the Gemara is going to explain. One's going to bring you two explanations. Hanit Tanai says more Islu de Rabbi Lazar be Rabbi Yossi. They go like Rabbi Yossi. Daniel Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Yossi Shamati Shabayli Mifagdim. I heard says Rabbi Yossi that the owner of the animal could cause pigul. If he has a bad mindset in a korban, he has the wrong time, pigul, it ruins the korban. Takama says this, that's only if I heard that the Bailim make have bad machshava. But if I didn't hear anything, I'm not assuming anything wrong happened. Meaning, in our case, everybody agrees that the owner, the first two Tanoim in the Mishnah agree that the owner can ruin the korban. But what's the discussion? They say a guy, I don't assume he's doing it for the Zara unless I know it. For Ablaza Sovar, says the Ablaza, no, I assume that a guy, if I don't know better, he's thinking of the Zara. I've got the Shemi and the Choshiv, Zemachashiv is the Oivid Larmin. So says the Gemara, that meaning the first two Tanoim, the first explanation of the Gemara is that Tanakama and Rabbi Yossi hold that the owner of the animal, Tanakama and Rabbi Lazar hold that the owner of the animal could ruin the animal. But the shaila is, do I assume he has a bad thought? Tanakama says the owner can ruin it, but a guy, I'm not assuming that he had a bad thought. Rabbi says the owner can ruin it, and I'm assuming that the guy has a bad thought. It says the owner can't ruin it. That's the three shittas in the Mishnah according to the first shot. Says the Gemara, some say that the Shamir and the Choshev plea. We talk about that we heard the guy saying, I want this to be a Vidazar. The fact that a owner can ruin the korban, Hani Mili Bifrim. That's only Korbanis inside Beis Hamikdash. Aval b'chutz, when an animal outside Beis Hamikdash, loy. You don't say that the owner can ruin it. Chutz Bifrim, outside from inside, we don't learn from each other. Rabbi comes to argue and says, you do learn the outside, meaning regular animal, from the inside. I feel bifrim, even inside. You don't say such a thing. So comes out the both ways to learn the Mishnah is that Tanakam and Rabbi Lazar hold that an owner can ruin the korban with his machshava, and Rabbi Yossi holds the owner cannot ruin it. The question is, what is the machlekes over here? Really, the only difference is, what does Tanakama hold over here? So according to the first man, Tanakama holds, we didn't hear anything. I'm assuming that the owner did not have a bad thought. The goy didn't have a bad thought. He says, Stam goy has a bad machshav. According to the second shita, we heard him saying that he has doing over the zara. Tanakama holds that it doesn't ruin it. And he says it does ruin it outside. So the inside, the owner can really ruin it. The shaila is outside because it's second mandor. So according to both shitas, inside the owner can ruin the korban. The shaila is, what does Tanakama hold in this case? According to Tanakama, to the first chat, also outside he can ruin it. I'm not assuming that he ruined it in this case. According to the second shot, outside he can't ruin it. That's the shita of Tanakama. And the base holds, regardless if it's inside or outside, the owner cannot ruin the korban. It's only the oived, only the person doing the avodah, the kohen, the one doing the shita, he's the only one who can ruin the korban, can ruin the animal. The second will stop over here. Continue from here, Beis Hashem, the next staff. Kol Tov.